evening and welcome to a special 7 o'clock edition of the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. Today is Thursday, February 25th, 2021. We are broadcasting live from downtown Youngstown, Ohio, and we are produced by the Youngstown Studio Network. No phone lines tonight. We'll bring those back next week. But on tonight's show, we have a great guest. She actually just got off of work and ran over here. She's been in front of the camera most of the day, and she's kind enough to join us again. So I believe she just emceed an event here just a little bit ago, but you're going to recognize WFMJ anchor and journalist Madison Tromler. Madison, thank you very much for coming on.
Justin, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I again appreciate it. I know you've put in a lot of hours today, and what time do you start work at? So I get in at 10:30.
Okay.
So pretty typical work day. I wake up, get ready, get in about 10:30, and then I'm a reporter all day. Mm-hmm. And then I stay till the 6 o'clock newscast, and then I usually get off sometime after 6:30. Sure. So just depending on. So yeah, full day news. It's what I do. I love it. It's my passion, and it's amazing. So I report all day and then anchor. So it's really like I get to do everything that I love all in one day. So
that's awesome. That's and from everybody I talk to, it's like, if you can do something you love doing every day, it doesn't feel like work and it's just more fun. Yeah. So, but before I have plenty of questions to ask you about your job and stuff, but you're not from Youngstown, you're from the Cleveland area. So tell us about like your story, where you grew up and how you eventually ended up here at WFMJ.
So I'm from Lorain County. Okay. It's North Ridgeville, which is a really small city. Most people know like Westlake, Avon, so that area. Yeah. So it's a smaller, medium-sized city, and I grew up in Cleveland. Pretty just normal life. I've always had a passion for writing, and I think just since I was really young, I was more into like history and English and not so much the math and the science. And I've just always been kind of into the news. I remember when I was little, I enjoyed watching it. And I think just my passion for writing actually kind of led me here, because I've always just enjoyed words and not even so much news writing. I mean, I love news writing, of course, but it was more so I loved writing it in a journal, like personal thoughts. And I'm all about inspiration and finding inspiration around me, inspiring people. And I also agree with you, like doing what I love is so important. And I think in a way, journalism has allowed me to write, to meet people, to talk, to travel a little bit, go out and about. Yeah. And I think for me, it's just being able to do things every day that most people don't get to do. Sure. Like, be in a courtroom, for example, and watch something that is probably the worst day of someone's life in some ways. Like it's something that you have to take very seriously, but it's fascinating to see so many different things unfold in the world every day, and just kind of like have a different kind of view, I think, is what kind of keeps me wanting to do this. But yeah, it really started from loving to write, and wasn't into math and science, not the best at it. So I kind of just always knew this is what I wanted to do. Sure. And I remember at one point I was like, well, maybe I'll be a teacher, or maybe I'll be a lawyer. I thought about different things. And this was just the one thing that always stuck. And then I just knew, like freshman year of college, I knew right away. Okay. Very cool.
So in your job, you're obviously up in front of a camera all the time, not necessarily in front of people all the time, but what gives you that confidence to just, report the news, or, maybe you're like tonight, you said you were emceeing an event. So, it's probably Zoom or virtual, right? But what gives you that confidence, or where did that come from?
I remember the first time seeing myself on air. I think I remember freshman year, the first time I was like, going on camera, doing stand-ups, doing anchoring. And I remember watching myself and being like, oh my goodness, I sound so different, or I look like, it's really weird because you see your face in every angle, and I've gotten so used to it. But in a way, it's actually brought me more confidence, because I just feel like, I see myself so much that I'm like, this is who I am. And, you just have to accept it in a way. And to me, being on camera and speaking in front of people actually has brought me more confidence as I go.
Okay.
So I think just the more I do it, the more I become more comfortable with it. So I think that goes with everything. Like the more you do something. So obviously this is my first podcast and I'm like, what's happening? This feels different. And I think, and this is going to help me become more confident in doing it though. But I think just the more you do something. So, and I mean, we all have our moments. Like I have moments where I'm like, I don't feel confident right now to be on camera, but it's just, you keep going and you keep doing it and I love it. So it's just.
Just hypothetically, is there any, just like any job you go to, you have good days, you have bad days. Do you ever feel like you're just like, I'm off today? Do you ever feel like that? Really?
All the time.
Okay.
I mean, but I still love what I do and it's human to feel unmotivated. I mean, motivation is not, it's like being in a good mood. It comes and it goes. You just got to keep going. Okay. And I think for me, it's like I do wake up every day pretty much excited to go to work because I like my job and I never have that feeling. I remember having jobs, I think when I was younger, where I'm like, you just don't want to go. Like, or you just don't want to go to school or whatever it is. But with this, I don't have that. I just drive to work and it's just like, okay, it's a good day. It's all right. I mean, but there's totally days where I'm just like, just not feeling myself or just feeling, tired. And I think with everything going on and the weather is such a big factor. And I think just the sunshine, even today, when I was walking here, it was still a little bit light out. So that for me, I was like, oh, okay. Like it just makes me feel so much better. But of course I have days where I don't feel as motivated. But for me, I truly believe that if you just do it, you can actually kind of train your mind to get motivated by just moving your body. So like just go into work, show up, get ready, walk in, and the motivation follows. Perfect. So that's how I think of it.
Okay. Yeah. And I could not agree with you more about the weather too. Just seeing that sun is such a mood changer.
Oh yeah.
So you talked a little bit at the beginning about, like what your job is and kind of what you do, but kind of walk us through after you get up and get ready and all that stuff, but take us through like a typical day in your life, going to your job.
So I walk into work and I sit down and before I go into work, I usually try and either listen to some news podcasts. Like I like NPR. It just depends. Some days I just skip the podcast, listen to music. It just depends, but I'll try and catch up on, the biggest headlines. So that I know what's going on in the world and locally. And then, so I walk in, we have a planner. So we each have our own desk and I sit down, I look at the planner and I start to get my story set up for the day. So usually it's a hard news story, which just means basically hard news is just another way to say a serious topic, usually of, it could be politics, usually the coronavirus is somehow tied into it. It could be a crime story, and I kind of just start calling sources and start getting that set up and thinking about all the contacts I have, who would be a good interview, and talking with my managers and deciding what my exact angle is going to be. And then a lot of people might not realize, but first off, I'm the anchor of 6 p.m. of our 6 p.m. newscast, but I'm also the dayside reporter of that day as well. And we have other reporters too, but I report and then anchor. So I wake up, I actually do my hair and makeup when I wake up in the morning, and because I don't have time before I can touch up, but I don't have time to completely get ready. So I wake up, get completely ready, and then I don't actually anchor until 6 o'clock. And I'm out all day covering my story. So I write, shoot, edit, everything, one-man band with my own camera, my own equipment. We set everything up. I'm sure you know this. I feel like a lot of people think that we have photographers and stuff. Sometimes we do. I mean, it just depends. I had one with me yesterday. If it's a certain story where maybe you're door knocking or you're in certain areas. But I go out, find my story. I shoot my stand-up, shoot something that we call a topical, which is it's a mini little commercial almost that airs ahead of time to tease, let people know what the story is. And all while you have to update social media, you have to start writing your web story because news is 24/7. And just getting prepared for the newscast. And then I come back, I edit the whole thing. That takes a while. You have to log the sound, so log the interviews that I do, type out the best information, and then I weave the interview together with my voice track that I record my voice of, so it gets weaved together into a packaged report.
Oh wow.
A video.
Okay.
So that's me, my words that I recorded with the interviews I did woven together like a perfect little, it's called a package, and it's a video of just that story. And then and then when I anchor, instead of me being live out in the field, I will just anchor into my intro into my story. So that's what I do every day, and it's pretty awesome. I love it.
So yeah, and it sounds like you're very, very busy. So like you said, with the news never stops. Let me ask you this though. Do you ever get, because the news, like I don't watch the news every night, but I catch it when I can. But it's gotta be somewhat depressing. So, and I know you guys try to mix in some, positive stories here and there, but like being an anchor and reporting it, a lot of times you're actually covering that story. How does that, there's got to be some personal attachment at some point with that. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's real. That's a really good question. So I believe that it's important to know what's going on around you. Like I'm very passionate about explaining things to people and providing context and saying this is what's happening. And I think in a way it shows the realness in the world. And I know some of these stories are so hard, but I feel like it's very important for people to understand what's going on. Sure. Because if you don't understand that there's high crime in certain areas, or you don't understand an awful event that happened that really can change that community. I think you need to understand what's happening in order to make change. And, and I think it's just important that people know what's going on. And I think it's important to pick a news source, whatever it is, or pick some kind of source of information and at least try and know what's happening in the world. So I kind of feel that way, but it is hard because of course there's stories where there's shootings and children are left alone in their home, and people are dying, and the coronavirus, and a lot of people have lost their parents to it. It's so hard, and it really does affect me, but I think it also just kind of also makes me want to get better and to continue telling these stories to hopefully make a difference. And I think it's hard, but I guess I haven't been doing it long enough to say, how I approach it, but it definitely is hard sometimes. And I think you just have to separate it and tell yourself, okay, but I will say that I look at the world differently. When I'm walking alone at night, like I'm always just like thinking about, because I cover crime, and I know you hear all these things. So I always kind of think about things, I think, differently, but yeah, it's definitely not easy at all.
Well, the reason I love interviewing anchors and reporters, because I feel like they're such great storytellers. And I feel, I just met you 20 minutes before the show, and, I can tell right away you're a very, easygoing people person, but you're also serious probably when the lights come on. So, that's what I love about that. And you were telling me you were even a little bit nervous, about this. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you have interviewed the President of the United States. He was he was on the campaign trail, and the Vice President of the United States. So, talk to us about that too, and that experience.
Yeah. It's funny though, because people are like, do you get nervous? And I'm like, yes. I get nervous every day before the newscast. I do, but it's like a good nervous.
Yeah,
it's like I get this adrenaline rush, and it's like a high. I can't even explain it when I'm out reporting, especially like out in the field when it's really a story that I'm just into that day, or I seriously get an adrenaline rush, and I get it before the newscast. It depends. Some days, it just depends on my mood or what I'm covering that day, but I totally get nervous all the time. Literally all the time. But I would say it's just an excited nervous and an exciting one. Yeah. But yeah, at WFMJ, I have gotten some incredible experiences so far, and I feel super blessed and lucky. And being able to interview President Biden while he was on the campaign trail was one of the things that 100% sticks out to me. And I was very nervous, but I think in the moment, I was just telling you earlier, I just was like, you need to just not be nervous and like, do not mess this up. So I just took it so seriously that I think, and it's funny because I'll talk with other reporters and I've heard them say that too, where they're just like, no, you're not allowed to be nervous. And it's really weird, but I just said, you're not allowed. And so I was deep down, but I just kind of, you just have to face your fear and just be confident. And I was also so excited, and I love doing any kind of big interview. I think it's just so exciting, and it's an opportunity really to, because we asked him about questions that are very significant to the Mahoning Valley. We didn't ask, the basic things that he talks about every day on the national news, on NBC, on CNN. We asked him about things that people would want to know about here. So I think another thing is sometimes I tell myself, it's a little selfish to be nervous because you're here to provide information for people. You're not here to, to make yourself look good or hope that you're going to do an awesome interview. It's actually about the information that you're getting to people. So sometimes I say, no, like you shouldn't be nervous. You should just be worried about making sure that you ask him the right questions and that people get the information. So in a way, I think you shouldn't really think about yourself, but I know naturally you can't help it. It's human nature. But I think I tell myself, if I'm really feeling nervous before a newscast or a live shot, I tell myself, like, this isn't about you. This is about the information that you need to let people know about. Because it could change someone's life. I mean, a lot of stories you might think a lot of people don't care, but there's always going to be people that do care about that story. So you just have to think of it that way. Okay.
All right. Very good. That's good. I think for a lot of our viewers or whoever might be listening to this later on, that, even someone that's in front of the camera all the time, every day, gets a little bit nervous too. But I think that excited nervousness.
People are lying to you. They're lying. If someone says they don't get nervous, they're lying.
Right.
It's the truth. I mean, I think everyone gets nervous sometimes. And if you ask me this in a few years, I've only been doing it for like 9 months now. So I haven't even been a year doing it. So I think if you ask me, I think I've heard from other mentors of mine that they stopped getting nervous after a year or 2 or 3. So at some point, I'm sure it does become more like second nature. But I think for the rest of my life, just knowing my personality, and I feel like I just have a lot of energy, and in a way, I feel like it brings me nerves, but good ones in a way. Right. So I could see myself always getting nervous about bigger things or that kind of thing. But it's such a good nervous, and it doesn't mean I don't feel confident. It's natural. Yeah. And I think if you're nervous, it gives you like a little bit more hype. You'd rather be a little like antsy than like, Right. Exactly. So I think the nerves are actually
and I think it shows you care too. You care about what you're doing.
That's true. Yeah.
So random question: if you could choose to interview anyone,
Taylor Swift.
Okay. And what would you ask her?
Oh, I know a lot of people. Taylor Swift, she has a lot of hate. I'm not gonna lie. But I think she's such a good writer and so talented, and her performing is amazing. And I'm just a huge fan. Okay. And I think I would just talk to her about how she writes. Okay. And I've listened to her talk about it in interviews, but I'm very passionate about writing, and I've always wanted to just become a better writer. Okay. And I think I would ask her how she formulates her words and how she comes up with such creative lines, because she's just an incredible writer. Sure. I truly believe she's gonna be someone that we look back at this generation, and she's gonna be someone who people really are like, she was an incredible writer. Right. Unlike so many artists, she does write all of her own music. Yeah. So I just respect her for that. And I think that she's kind of a boss. And
very cool.
I love Taylor Swift. She's pretty cool, but I love all music, literally all music. So
this is a question I had for later, but what was the first concert you ever attended?
It was probably Taylor Swift. Okay. Was it Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber or the Jonas Brothers or something? Okay. It was one of the like basic. It might have been Taylor. Okay. Because I remember going to one of her concerts when I was super young. So yeah, I would say Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber.
Okay. All right. Very good. So you had mentioned too, you have some mentors in the news business, or maybe from college or high school or whatever. Who are some of those people you look up to?
So I have a mentor. His name is Ron Yance, and he was actually an anchor in Cleveland for many, many years. And he has just given me such good advice.
Okay.
And he's someone that I go to, and he works at Lorain County Community College, and I actually interned in their broadcasting department before I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And he was the first person to say, get in front of the camera, like in front of a bunch of people. One time he had me doing this reporting, and he taught me confidence and taught me just about how to be out in the field and the type of reporter to be, and that, you know, you can't just be a pretty face. Like, you have to be smart. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to prepare. You have to do your research.
Sure. And
you have to be good, and you have to work really, really hard. And he just taught me about preparation and also about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, which is something I'm also kind of passionate about, is trying new things and maybe doing things that make you extremely uncomfortable, because that's what makes you grow a lot as a person. And I remember my first time, like, I was a freshman, and he told me to get in front of a bunch of people and just, you know, do these pretend live shots basically, but we shot them, we filmed them, and then looked back at it. And you know, things like that. He really put me out there, and I don't think I'd be where I am without his advice. So he definitely inspired me. And then I actually worked at WKYC in Cleveland. So all of them, Russ Mitchell, Jimmy Donovan, Sarah Shookman, they are all, I looked up to all of them. And I think that they're such professionals. Sarah and Russ just, they embody just professionalism, and they're very good at what they do. And they have this new anchor, her name's Laura Queso, and I think she's so professional and just so good. And yeah, so I would say the local anchors in Cleveland I definitely look up to. And I mean, there's so many people.
Was that weird? Because you probably, you know, being from Cleveland, watched them and then worked with them. Was that strange for you, or was that cool, or what?
Yeah,
you know, how was that?
I remember my first time walking in, and I remember someone was giving me an interview, and he was like, no, it's like, don't act excited. Like, shh, like, just shh. And, or they were giving me a tour, and he was like, you know, keep it down. Cause I wasn't sure if I'd gotten the intern, or, you know, I was like just applying. And I just remember that, and I was like, oh my goodness. It was just beautiful in there. And I mean, just seeing everyone, I was just so amazed by it, and just seeing, and even the setup in here, it's so cool. And I know people can only see a certain angle, but it's just like so beautiful. I love seeing the lights and the equipment. There's something about that in the TV industry that kind of just, to me, is so fascinating. Like seeing how it all comes together and behind the scenes, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand how cool it is. Like the control room at the TV station, just knowing all that goes into it, and even all that just goes into a newscast, it's just kind of fascinating. So when I got to see all of that, I was like, yep, this is where I want to be. And then I ended up interning there, and I actually worked there like all through college.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So. And you went to Kent State, correct?
Yes.
And I had Erin on a few weeks ago, and she, you know, you guys went to school together. So how cool is that you guys were able to go to school together and then land a job at the same network?
It's hilarious, honestly, because I remember one time in college, we did our school TV station together, TV2, and I think one time I joked with her, and I was like, what if we worked together one day? And it ended up working out, and I had no idea I was going to I thought I was going to move away. Honestly, after college, I didn't know I was going to be lucky enough to stay in Northeast Ohio. Most people don't stay home. I still feel, I'm from Cleveland, but I'm like an hour and a half from home. So for me, it was just, it all worked out really, really well. And for her to be working here and for us to go to college together, I think it's so funny, and it's amazing, because we both know what it's like to literally graduate at the same time, right during the pandemic, we only know our job is covering it during the pandemic. I mean, I know from internships and things like that how different it is, but I mean, she gets it, and we have that bond, and we can talk about it, so it's amazing.
That's awesome. Do you think if you had to give an estimated date on when you think this is somewhat back to normal with COVID, what do you think? That's
what I'm trying to find out every day at work, and ask doctors, and they won't even tell me. I don't know. I mean, I think once we have what's called herd immunity, and a lot of people are vaccinated, I think that's gonna help, bring things back to normal.
Right.
And at one point, hopefully, so I think that's what it's going to be in the end. It's just going to be this vaccine.
Okay.
And if enough people take it, it'll hopefully all end at some point.
Knock on wood. I know. It's like I kind of felt like, yesterday I think it was like the warmest day of the year, and cheers.
This is just amazing. I'm obsessed with it.
Well, you need your little espresso, right?
This is so fancy. I mean, I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. But like yesterday, warmest day of the year, the sun's out all day. I just felt like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with
it's
winter
like symbolic.
and exactly.
I was thinking that too, actually, because I was like, you know what, we're finally starting to see cases decline. Doesn't mean it's over.
Sure,
I mean, I know they're still stressing, wear the masks, do everything, but it's crazy. I was just talking about it at work today. Like, it started in 2019, and of course we didn't really start to hear more about it until 2020, but it's just crazy how long it's been, but it's going to end. It doesn't feel like it. I know sometimes I'm like, this is never going to be over. Yeah. But it will. And, we'll look back at it and remember.
Yeah, we will never forget 2020 and parts of 2021, that's for sure. So on air, you're live all the time. Do you have any like good blooper stories or any like mess ups that maybe you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I would say little mistakes happen all the time. Oh yeah, there's so many things that happen every day that people at home probably don't notice. I mean, there's mispronunciations and things like that people might realize, but there's small little things that happen that people don't know it's a mistake. But if someone who's watching TV news, they'll know. Know. But I'll text my mom and I'll say, "Did you see what happened?" She's like, "What are you talking about? It all looks great." And I'm like, "Oh no, like this story didn't, air." But people at home don't realize. But oh yeah, well we did have a blooper actually that just happened a few weeks ago where it's kind of hard to explain, but basically everything gets coded. And there's a director that presses buttons throughout the entire newscast, and that's how everything is shown on TV. And everything gets coded ahead of time, and it gets worked on very hard, the newscast. It's like very thought out, and there's just so much that goes into it. And one day there was some miscommunication, and somehow a story didn't air when it was supposed to. And I mean, these things happen. And so we had to immediately go to commercial break after like 30 seconds of introing the story. So it's hard to explain, but we basically had no choice, but we couldn't have even ad-libbed about it. We just had to go to commercial break because they had to get it prepared, because they couldn't even go to the next story because it wasn't coded properly. It's hard to explain, and also as that was happening, the prompter was bouncing around. So it's really funny, but that day I printed out my scripts and for some reason I put that first story at the bottom. So I just started spreading out I wish I had the video we could show right now. I just started spreading out my scripts on the desk and it looked like the encyclopedia. And it was hilarious. And I just think it's so funny, but we ended up, it wasn't that bad. I mean, we went to commercial break, came back. And so that's like one thing I can think of, but yeah, things happen all the time.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the papers. Like, I feel like I have to ask every, at least anchor that's on the show this. So
I keep hitting this.
It's okay. Right? Yeah, it'll be all right. Yeah, it'll bounce back. But like with every TV show or movie at the end, like I'm going to use Anchorman as the example. You always see him at the end and they're doing this, and you and Derek have a pretty good rapport. But you ever see on Anchorman where the mics are cut and they're just going back and forth?
And Jimmy Fallon, he's always like looks over to the person. I always wonder what they're saying.
Exactly. Do you ever do that?
No, because of just the way it ends. What I do is I just smile. I'm like, and then it cuts into, we show weather video. So it's not the same as a talk show where I see what you're saying though. And I know some TV stations do that where they show a camera from a different angle of so that would be cool, but I don't think we've really done that. So we'll just kind of smile
fade to a different picture.
Fade to a different, to a weather background. But that's funny that you mentioned that though, because I know WKYC, I think if they have extra time at the end of the newscast, if they have like 30 seconds or whatever, they'll show, and a lot of stations do that, they'll show different angles of the newsroom. And I think in that case, that's when anchors will, do the papers and, look around.
All right. So just a couple more questions about the job, then we'll move into some other more like fun
I can talk about
questions.
the job all day, though.
I know. Well, I can tell, and I can tell you love it, which is great. What is the best part of your job, and what, on the other side of the coin, what's the toughest part of your job?
So the best part, I think, is it is so rewarding, I would say. You get kind of what I said earlier, is you get to really meet so many interesting people and tell so many interesting stories, and you learn so much every day. So I feel like I'm in school every day but it's fun, not boring school. Because every day you have to do research and you have to know what you're talking about. Right. You have to actually prepare, you interview experts. And sometimes I'll be doing an interview about maybe the coronavirus or the vaccine or about something else, maybe about mental health. And I'll like kind of ask my own questions, like just because I'm curious, but also because it's going to be a part of my story. But I'm literally learning every day something new.
That's really cool.
Sometimes we're doing stories that are similar to what we've done in the past. But when you're interviewing top experts, I have an interview actually set up with a national expert with Johns Hopkins to talk about the mental health of nurses. So when you interview people like that, very, very smart people, they're teaching you things. Yeah. And you're going to then teach it to other people. So it's kind of just like you're learning something every day and then you present it.
Okay.
So to me, I just think that that's so cool because I think knowledge is power. Yeah. And I think every time my family brings up something about the world and talks about it, I can chime in and say, well, hey, not to be like, oh, I know it all, but like I've interviewed someone before about that and this is what they said. And they're like, oh, interesting. And it's like, it goes past just Googling something because you get to have like an in-depth conversation with someone who actually studies that topic. Right. And you get to explain it to people. So I think the best part of the job is just knowing that you're helping people understand something, and to me, if it can make a difference in any way, like just help someone know how to file for unemployment, and it sounds boring, like taxes and stuff, but these are things people need to understand how to do.
Yeah, things that matter.
Yeah, and it can be interesting, I think, depending on what the topic is, and just learning about the economy and money and how things work is just interesting. So there's so many things, though, I love about it, but I think it's just you're always on the go. You're never, I don't sit at a desk. I have to sit at the desk when I come back and edit, but I'm literally running around all day, sweating most of the time, just grabbing like 55 pounds of equipment at least and just lugging it around. And that's basically my workout every day because I'm just driving around town and you're on deadline. So, you have to have your story done in time or bad, you have to have it done.
Right.
And so you just get to have so much fun every day. Okay. And sometimes I'll literally think to myself, like, I'm getting paid to do this. Like, I'm literally talking to people, putting it into I love editing. It's cool. You get to edit on video and you show it in the newscast, and it's awesome. Okay. It's really fun. I mean, and yeah, there's tough days. There's days where the story's maybe not as exciting, but to me, I kind of just always try and find something interesting in it and tell myself, okay, what do people want to know about this? Sure. And then it makes the story interesting. Okay. And then I think you asked me what the worst
and like what would be maybe not necessarily the worst, because we talked about like some of those stories that will affect you and stuff like that, but what might be either the worst or the toughest, however you want to word it?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the stigma with news, and I think the way people lately are kind of looking at the news sometimes and thinking that, because it's like when it comes to local TV news, every day, all I do is try to strive for accuracy and to get both sides. Sure. And I just hope people understand that a lot of local journalists work so hard to get the accurate story. Right. And whenever I get sent on a story, I always try to find what is the real story here. So I think the stigma with news, because, we work so hard, and I can't speak for every local journalist or every journalist in the world, but I try so hard to be fair,
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
it's not always easy. It's hard to do when, some days you're trying to reach a contact to do an interview with to make the story more fair. And especially with the pandemic, sometimes people are hard to reach or they're not available for an interview, but we try so hard to make sure that our stories are just 100%. So, but I really can't think of something I hate about it. Honestly, it's really great. It's really fun.
Those deadlines, maybe. right?
Honestly, I think that that's what keeps me on my toes. Because I'm the type of person where I couldn't even imagine sitting at a desk all day.
Sure, yeah.
Or having a job that I don't have a deadline. I mean, every day I have a deadline, and the deadline's not 6 p.m. It's actually 24/7, because if we find out something, that has to get on the website immediately. Right. And you have to be prepared to write about it and talk about it. We have to do Facebook Live. So I think the deadline actually just excites me and keeps me going. And I think I feel like I need a deadline. It just, and when the day's over, it's just like, you just sit down and it just feels so good. And especially when it's a story that you were very passionate about that day. So yeah, I would say. Okay.
Very good. That's some interesting, look into like behind the scenes.
There's so much. Seriously. I feel like I could talk about it for so long. It's really interesting, I think. And I love talking about it.
Maybe in the future we can do like a behind the scenes podcast down there with you guys.
Yeah, totally. That'd be awesome.
So advice to someone maybe in your shoes a couple years ago, you've had a mentor that's helped you. If you were mentoring somebody else, what kind of advice would you give them?
So I would say, I have a couple. So number one, work your butt off, work hard. And that sounds so cliche, but I truly think like, I always tell myself, like, I want to be the hardest worker in the room. Like, I want to, what's that quote I love? Like, work so hard, like someone's trying to take it away from you 24/7. Like every day I tell myself, like, I want to be the hardest worker in this room right now. Right. So, and it's not always easy. Like, obviously there's days where you're just tired or you're exhausted. Sure. You have so much going on, but I really do just try to work as hard as I can. And I think that that's what will make you successful. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. Like, if you don't work hard, you won't be able to succeed, because hard work will beat the talent. You know what I mean? So if you're talented and you work hard, it's like I think you could really accomplish a lot. So I would say definitely have that mentality. And definitely, if you want to get into journalism, make sure that you are extremely passionate about news and writing and getting a story. You have to be aggressive. You have to go up to strangers and say, hey, did you hear about this? Like, I'm Madison with 21 News. Do you want to talk with me? You have to go up to people that you've never seen before. Sometimes it's a scary situation. You knock on doors. You're talking to strangers. You're talking to police. You're in a courtroom. You have to be aggressive, because sometimes you have to ask a question, a very important question. You have to make sure that you can ask that, and they won't want to answer it sometimes. You're going to have to hold people accountable. You have to ask the mayor a question and say, Mr. Mayor, why didn't you do this? You have to have some.
Can't just throw a bunch of softballs in there. It's got to be tough.
You have to have thick skin and a backbone. And I'm still learning. There's moments where I'm like, why didn't I ask this question? Or I wasn't tough enough. Or my manager's like, Madison, you weren't tough enough here. You didn't ask this question. I mean, I'm learning so much, but you have to be very thick-skinned and tough, and you have to want to get a story. Okay. And I would say if you want to be a hard news reporter, I mean, I think there's different elements. If you want to be maybe in entertainment or maybe softer news, maybe you don't have to, and you're more personality. I guess it just depends on what your goal is in journalism. But I think most journalists start off, you're covering the hard news stories. So you have to have that. And one more thing I would say, if you're in college, make sure you're studying economics and studying money and studying how things work, because you're going to be covering a lot of that stuff. So it's good to have a good knowledge on like business, the economy. Yeah. You better know, about the judicial system and understanding government and understanding the political system and how that all works. So try and take as many classes like that as possible, because those are things that you're going to be covering every day. Right. So like not just the basic journalism classes, but try to know a little bit about everything. So that would be, if I could go back, I'd probably take more like economics classes, because that's just such a good tool to have. Sure. Okay. All right. Very good advice. That's great. So this being a sports show, let me ask you a couple sports questions. All right, let's do it. And, so in not North Olmsted,
North Ridgeville.
Right next to Northampton.
Yeah. And what's the mall up there? I know that one. There's a mall that's right there.
Great Northern.
Great Northern. Yes. Yeah. That's right by the airport.
That's
and all
literally
that
the mall
stuff.
I've only ever shopped at my whole life.
So did you play any sports growing up or in high school?
So I cheered here and there.
Okay.
But I never played an actual sport. I did play volleyball when I was younger for a very short period of time, and I remember I really enjoyed it. And I think I might have played soccer when I was really little, but that doesn't count. But I cheered here and there. You know, it's funny though, because I wish I would have played a sport, because I feel like, I mean, cheering was cool, but I feel like I have so much energy, and I'm like, I kind of wish I would have put that into like basketball or something and actually tried that. But I think at the time I've always been, you know, more, I guess, girly. Not that, you know, that means anything, but I just never really considered a sport, but I should have.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. How about favorite athletes?
LeBron James.
Okay.
Greatest of all time.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
It's actually really funny because today, my Facebook memory popped up. I should actually show you right now. We were, I think, in the 6th or 7th row at a Cavs game. And it was so funny because that popped up today. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on the sports show.
Let's see, 2017, my family and I had season tickets. So we had 3rd row behind the Cavs bench. We actually sat with Zuri and Gloria the one game, and that was awesome to experience. That's
incredible. Well, really here's cool. Like, just to give you, so I was right. We were right there, and we got super lucky because we had a friend who knew someone who had season, and we just got lucky and got invited to this. And I mean, I saw LeBron James right there. I saw him sweating, basically. I saw him getting mad. And I remember we were like, LeBron James. Like, it was just so surreal. And I feel like when you're from Cleveland, it's just in your blood. You know, you love, like, it's just so fun. I mean, being in that vibe, and people in Cleveland, I mean, it's like Cleveland against the world. Everyone just loves when we win, and it's like, I feel like a lot of people, you know, don't. It's like kind of like Youngstown.
Yeah, right.
People are just
you're the underdog.
It's like, no, like, and it's just something about sports, like bringing people together and just enjoying something that's so much bigger than yourself and just being a part of it. So that's why I love it.
I think going to Cavs games too, especially if you sit down low, you get a real appreciation of the speed, the talent, the size that some, you know, that you might not necessarily pick up, you know, just watching on TV. So
and the energy in any sports game, I feel. Seriously. I mean, in any game, I think there's just so much energy, and it's just so exciting. Okay. So, yeah.
So this is kind of a news / sports question. The Indians recently announced that they're not going to keep the Cleveland Indians name after 2021. Do you have any thoughts, being from Cleveland, maybe what a new nickname for the team could be or should be if you had a choice? Do you have any thoughts?
I was actually thinking, I don't know if someone already, if I got this off Twitter, but I feel like maybe the Rockers. Okay. Because it's the city of rock and roll. And rock and roll is my favorite music. Okay. So something with rock and roll would be really cool, because we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we're Cleveland. I think a lot of people forget, like, we're the city of rock and roll. Sure. It's the guitar is our motto thing. So I think something along those lines would be really cool. Okay. And the colors are red and blue, so I feel like that would still, you know, go. So I don't know, something with like Rockers. Okay. I don't know why. I feel like I would not be disappointed. What do you think?
See, I guess it's too early, but like the names I've heard that keep coming up are the Guardians. That, that bridge that's right outside the stadium, there's these Guardians, and they call it like the Guardians of the City. So I've heard that one. I've heard the Spiders. I don't know how crazy I am about that.
I don't know how I feel about that.
And
I don't like the Spiders.
I think a lot of people, it's one of those, you either love it or you hate it.
Spiders. Where did that come from? I don't like that.
I think there used to be,
I heard that, I think.
Early 1900s, one of the Cleveland teams was called that. So I've heard also the Blues. And I just thought that was interesting because, there's the Red Sox, there's the White Sox, and then somebody threw out like Blue Sox or just Blues. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I've also heard the Grays. I don't really know what that necessarily represents, but those are some ones that stuck out to me. But I'm sure they'll, be 100 different names they come up with. Okay, so one more sports question. a walk-up song. So in baseball, you know, the batter's coming up to the plate. There's always a walk-up song. You mentioned Taylor Swift earlier being, you know, someone you love. If you had a walk-up song to anything, like anytime you enter a room, anytime, like, you know, maybe like a theme song before you come on the news or something, what would your walk-up or theme song be? So
I love 80s rock, rock and roll. My mom always loved it, and I'm obsessed. It just fuels my soul. I can't even explain it. So I love Taylor Swift, but a lot of people don't know that Taylor Swift gets a lot of inspiration from 80s music.
Interesting.
Which is, you would probably not, you know, think that when you listen to her music, but she takes a lot of inspiration from those, from what I've heard her talk about. So 80s rock and roll is my favorite. So it would be like a mashup of pretty much all 80s bands music, and then maybe Taylor Swift singing some of it and being in there and singing some of her songs, maybe. Give me rock and roll. Okay. I like it. That's a different outside the box answer. I like that. Yeah, very nice. For sure. I love all music though. There's literally not one thing I don't like. Okay. So if you had to pick one like genre, would you be able to pick like a favorite? Because Taylor Swift's more like pop, but like she used to be country, and you know, she's her own thing. For me, it's like I'm not even really obsessed with pop music, to be honest with you. And I like it and I listen to it, but I just respect her. I think she's such a hard worker, and she just pushes out albums, and she's just amazing. I mean, she's just a very hard worker, and I think that's what I respect, is her hustle, but of course her music, and she's a great writer. But I would say I'd probably pick 80s. I also really love older music too, like even the 50s vibes. I think that stuff is really good. So, but I'd probably choose the 80s because it was when music was good. I mean, could you imagine just being at an 80s rock concert? Yeah. And I'm not saying music's not good now, because it is, but I mean, it was so real, and the talent, the performance, and these people were just insane. I think a lot of drugs went into making a lot of that music. I was just thinking that as I was but you're right, you know, it's creative. Like, well, it was probably that. Well, I mean, it really, you know, like after the 50s, you know, in the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, a lot of drug vibes, but like that inspired so many creative minds. Right. Well, the ones that weren't doing the drugs, you know, they're inspiring. Right. Okay. Let's do a this or that. So I'm going to just give you two options. Just pick one of them. If you want to elaborate, feel free to elaborate. So if you could choose one of these two, board games or video games? Video games. Okay. Yeah. Late night. Are you a late night person or an early morning person? I am both. Okay. This is so weird. I feel like I'm a morning person and a night person. I wake up and I'm like, all right, let's go. I mean, of course I get tired, but I enjoy mornings. I enjoy sunrise, but I would say I also love being up late and being a night owl. So you're kind of the first person I've met because that's my answer too. Really? And I'm like, just give me an afternoon nap and I can stay up all night and I can be up as early as you want. I know. I like to stay up, and then I like to, you know, I don't like to sleep in. So it's like, I just want it to be a 24-hour day pretty much. But I mean, we have to sleep. But if you could attend any concert you wanted or any game you wanted, which would you attend? You don't have to name which one, but like a concert or a game. Oh, okay. A concert. Okay. For sure. Okay. For sure. All well, a concert and then a game, or, you know, both. Yeah, well, why not both, right? But yeah, probably a concert. Okay. One's really random, but I think it's kind of fun. Okay. Have you seen the movie Hunger Games? Yeah. Okay. Have you seen Jurassic Park? Yeah. Okay. So if you had to be a contestant in the Hunger Games or dropped in the middle of Jurassic Park, oh my gosh, which would you choose? Such a good question. Just totally random. So I love that. I really love that. And I love both of those movies. So that's so interesting that you said that. Different dynamic, I guess. And man, I would say the Hunger Games is scary. Yeah. Right. But Jurassic Park is really scary. I think I'm gonna go Jurassic Park. Okay. You might have some way to escape. Cool. Okay. And I want to see them in person. Okay. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, dinosaurs are pretty cool, man. Okay. So I feel like I would maybe go with Jurassic Park just to like the science of it and being able to. Hunger Games kind of freaks me out. Okay. You know, I'm just like, I don't think I'll make it out.
Okay.
So Jurassic Park, I can.
You have better odds.
Yeah, we'll hide under a tree. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. All right. If you had a time machine and you could go to either the past or the future, which one would you go to? Listen to those 80s bands live?
I thought you were going to ask me where I'd go, and I was going to say, and I know a lot of people from the 80s are like, I hated the 80s. Like, a lot of people don't, but I don't know. I mean, I might have to go with the future, even though I wish I lived in the past, because I'm not with the whole, I'm kind of over the social media world, and obviously it's such a huge part of my job, and it's just a part of my life, but I think it'd be really interesting to see life before all of that. But I think being in the future, I mean, just seeing what happens would be really interesting.
Okay. All right. Spring or fall?
I love fall. I do. I love when the leaves change and it's so beautiful. But summer's my favorite.
Okay. Would you rather attend a formal event or a casual event?
Formal.
Okay.
I don't know why that even took me. Yeah, formal for sure.
Okay. Would you rather go bowling or golf?
Bowling?
Okay.
I think bowling. Okay. But I do like being outside. But golfing, I would be awful at it. I'm maybe putt-putting. I don't.
Okay. And dogs or cats?
Oh my gosh, I know so many people are like, why isn't she saying dogs? So I never grew up with a dog, which I know is crazy. I know that's crazy, but I actually did grow up with a cat. However, I love all animals.
Sure, yeah.
But baby kittens, man, are so cute, and their cats are sweet, but dogs are amazing.
This is a very PC answer. That's very good. Okay. That shows you're true professional right there. Just a couple personal type questions, and then I know I've taken up a lot of your time here.
No, I'll stay all night. Seriously.
If you weren't an anchor or a reporter, what would you do?
So I think it'd be interesting to be a homicide detective and like solve murders and that kind of thing. So I've been thinking about that lately because I always just think it's really interesting to talk to detectives when there's shooting or something going on, just hearing how they're figuring out the situation. So maybe a homicide detective, obviously in awful situations, but I think it's just kind of fascinating to see them figure things out. So maybe something like that, or maybe a lawyer would be interesting. But I think my number one pick would maybe be an actor. Okay. All right, very good. I think that's what I would do because I love talking to myself and pretending. Sure. I don't know. I think that's fun. Yeah, so that's cool. I think I would act, to be honest. All right. Since you're not from Youngstown, but you've been here now for, what'd you say, about 9-10 months, something like that? Since May. Since May. Okay. All right. So what are some of your favorite, and it's kind of COVID life, so it's maybe not exactly the same, but what are some of your favorite things in Youngstown, either to go to or like bars or restaurants or something like that? I love Blue Wolf Tavern is so good. I love Michael Alberini's. So far, those are probably my two favorite restaurants. I haven't gotten to go out or anything really yet too much. So, but I loved Alberini's. I thought it was so nice. It kind of reminded me of a restaurant that would be in like Chicago or something. I just thought it was so cute. Okay. So yeah, we go to Blue Wolf all the time. Like we've definitely been there a good amount of times. So I love, we went to the Fellows Gardens, Riverside Gardens. Those are just beautiful when they're at their peak. So that was really fun. And Mill Creek Park is awesome. Right. So yeah, that's really what we've done so far. I think that's, All right. And I guess last one. So you had mentioned earlier, you listen to a lot of podcasts or at least like news podcasts before you go on the air. Let me think how to phrase this. What are you either watching or listening to, or like, are you a movie person? Are you a series person? Are you I like to tell people like I would be a really good
person that could talk about movies or TV shows, but I don't have the patience to sit down and like read a book just because I'm like stir crazy. So what are you watching or listening to right now?
So I actually don't like watching TV that much. It's so weird. I mean, I do like watching movies sometimes. It just depends, but I think documentaries are interesting, but as weird as it sounds, I'm just not that into watching TV. And honestly, I feel like I don't have time to do it.
Right.
I really don't. I mean, I watch the news sometimes. You know, when I watch it on TV, I like to listen to news podcasts a lot, though. And usually I'll just watch the news on YouTube. Like, I'll look up the news organization and watch it that way. But I just need to say that I loved Stranger Things.
Okay.
I was obsessed.
Okay.
And anytime someone asks me my favorite TV show, I mean, it
fits
was
right in with
so
your 80s theme.
Good.
I would have never
That's why
guessed
I loved
it.
it.
Okay.
That was part of the reason, but it was also so well done, I think. It was just so well, and I, of course, I like to look at the way they shoot and edit, you know, things. So I thought it was so well written and edited, and I feel like it was just the graphics and how. Did you see it at all?
Oh, I've seen them all. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
like the way
cool.
that it looked so good. It was so cinematic.
Sure.
It looked like it should have been in a theater.
Right.
So I loved it. I know, and that's the last show I think I would typically watch, something so sci-fi. But those kids were cool, man.
Right.
11. I mean, she was awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it was so good.
Okay. All right. Before I let you go, to tell people, about your social media and like when you're on the news and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm on every night at 6 p.m. on 21 NBC, WFMJ. We're an NBC affiliate. And you can follow me at Madison Tromler. So it's MADISON TROMLER. And I believe that's all of my handles for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I think, is Madison Tromler TV.
Okay.
TV at the end. So
I got to say, too, that shows your professionalism right there, because I didn't even tell you. You just like straight up turned and looked in that other camera. Very impressive.
I was like, should I just look at Justin or yeah.
No, that was very, very good.
That's
very
hilarious.
Good. So, Madison, I know, you've been working since 10:30, and I'm sure you got up well earlier before that. So I appreciate you coming down, taking the time, and hopefully we can do that again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Justin.
Absolutely.
This was awesome, and I can't wait to do it again.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Very
guys,
good.
for watching.
Everybody have a great weekend. We will see you next Tuesday. Have a great night.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.